He's going to be online. He's not feeling well. Okay, we're going to call to order the regular city council meeting of December 13th, 2021. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen?
Here.
Salvia?
Here.
Albrecht?
Here.
Gould?
Here.
Harrison?
Here.
Peterson?
Here.
Sage?
Here.
Thank you. Would you now all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So welcome, everybody. Hope everybody's having a happy holidays. And I think with caroling in the streets last night and things that are going on, I think our downtown is in Christmas spirit. So having said that, we're going to have a moment of silence for the Oxford schools. As we know, it was a terrible event. A lot of people have kids in school. I'm a teacher. Other people, Councilmember Gould's wife is a teacher. So, I mean, we all feel that. It was all a terrible thing, and I think all we can do in situations like this is, you know, love our families and love our neighbors and do what we can. So we'll have a moment of silence now. Thank you. And it was good to see the Rochester High marching band out at the caroling yesterday. Good to see kind of the high schools out trying to get back to some kind of normality. Next, we have public comment. First, we have the Rochester Community Garden Report. Mr. Manager, do we have someone here?
Yeah, we're supposed to have Sue. I was going to say, I think I see her.
Sue.
Yep.
Sue, welcome.
Hi, how is everybody?
Good. Welcome.
I don't want to take up a whole bunch of your time. So the written report, I know Brian is going to share that with us on the screen. So that is up in front of us. Some lovely pictures of what was a beautiful garden season. So we can just advance through the next 2 pages. And that's in your report, so everybody can admire the pretty pictures. This page is just the general recap that City Council had requested be summarized at the end of each year with some general facts about the plots that were rented and the inflow and outflow of money and the amount of time that Dinosaur Hill dedicated to various aspects of managing the garden. This year, all of the plots filled again, which was excellent, and we did have a waiting list, and that was without, you know, any extra publicity because we were full before we could say boo. So I'm sure, could have had a longer waiting list if we would have chosen to do so. So that's the overview there. You can move on to the next page. And the Children's Garden had another great year. Again, with COVID, we didn't have as many kids as we normally would in the garden, but it got a lot of good use, and Margaret was very busy. You can scroll to the next page. There's a brief overview of the activities that Margaret led at the Children's Garden, and you can scroll to the next page and see all of the beautiful donations that we were able to make to the food pantry and to area neighbors in need and so on and so forth. So it was really great throughout the entire season. I'd get reports sometimes multiple times a week from Margaret on everything that she was busy donating. And you can scroll to the next page. And then Oakland University, their Grow OU program, who participated now for the second year at the garden, is out there growing produce with some of their special needs students. And so there's a fairly detailed report from them as well that makes up the remainder of the pages that are contained within your packet. And I think we can stop the screen share because the rest is just the OU garden report. Thank you, Brian. So that's the overview in a nutshell. I want to thank Marcy and Jason and Nick for being so great to work with this year. It was a pleasure working with all of them, and they really went above and beyond to make sure the garden was taken care of well, but also as economically as possible. So that's sort of the community garden in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions or anything that might be on the minds of City Council.
Councilmember Albrecht.
Thank you, Sue, and thank you for sharing a successful season of gardening. I was just looking on your statistics, and I know you have plots owned by a single gardener. St. Paul Church has 6 plots. Is there any limit to how many plots a gardener can own? Because I know we have a waiting list of gardeners trying to get in there. So I don't know, and I know we're for next year we're going to be adding, I think, half a dozen or more, or a dozen or more plots. So is there any limit to how many plots a gardener can rent?
Yeah, we don't have a hard and fast limit. We are always trying to do a delicate balance between the number of plots that any individual person has and then serving as many people as possible. So we have a system that we use of prioritizing. So if we have City of Rochester residents that want to get in, but we have non-residents who want multiple plots, then we'll obviously prioritize City of Rochester residents. But if we have a group, like a service group like that has had that number of plots consistently over time, and we don't have City of Rochester residents that are on a waiting list, then we'll go ahead and prioritize them. So it's sort of a balancing act that we do, but we're always prioritizing City of Rochester residents.
Thank you.
If that's helpful.
Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Sue, for this report. We're all excited to see the updates happening at the community garden right now. I know construction of new beds is underway. Is there an expectation that there's going to be any delays for next season for gardeners, or are we still set to go when the season starts?
Yeah, that would be a question best directed to Jason or a representative or perhaps the city manager, because they're taking the lead on that aspect of the project.
Yep.
Mr. City Manager.
Sure, happy to answer that. So we're currently on track. We've done the initial demo work, and all's really going to depend on the weather here this upcoming spring. But we're currently on track, and don't foresee any issues.
Great.
Further questions for Sue? Okay, Sue, thank you. Merry Christmas to you. Thank you for coming.
And to you as well. And I'll just say the only thing that we're going to need to keep an eye on as we roll into the next gardening season will be the finances of how it works out with the new requirement of the city to take $10 per plot. That's just something that we'll have to keep an eye on how well that balances out with the time that's invested by our organization and whatever additional income is generated through having additional plots. So that's just something that we'll have to keep an eye on with the plot rates staying steady.
Very good. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you all.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Sue.
Thank you, Sue.
Brian, anybody else out there?
I do not see any hands raised right now.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kane, come on up. Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas. I got my lights up on Sunday.
There you go.
Hi. Patricia Kane, 817 West 4th Street, Rochester, Michigan. And I'm up here now because of residential lighting. Unfortunately, it's not on track. With everything I was told and everything I was sort of promised or led to believe with all the conversations, it just never happened, and we're still not happening. So I want to show you something. I know I inundated you with lots of photographs from inside my house. When I look out my kitchen window, south side of my house, I'm looking at those lights, and those lights go from my kitchen windows on the south side of my house through my kitchen, my dining room, and my living room, and exit the north side of my house. Okay, next photograph, please. Can you scoot it up? I can't do this. Okay, there is the spotlight we've been talking about for quite some time, and that's a recent photograph. It's through my whole house from the north side. right smack dab into my window, and that light is across the street in a backyard. So that light comes through my living room and my bedroom windows and exits, well, it exits in the bedroom inside my closet when I open it because of walls and clothing, and it goes right outside the south side of my windows. And something very interesting about the light is I had my garage light on, and my garage light isn't on very often, but it's also under eaves, and it happens to face across the street, a face of that garage. So when I brought my dog home yesterday from a walk, in the dark, I stood at the base of my drive. My light is here, his light is there. I stood like this, and guess where the shadow was? Up my drive toward my own light. Not happy about it. When I come home from work, I have a habit, I come in through my front door. And the reason why is I get my mail, I get my packages, I open the front door, and that happens to be where my dog greets me because she doesn't go down 3 steps. She's right there. I have a little fob, a light, let's see if I got it here, on my keychain. So when I come home to see the key lock, because we don't leave lights on 24, I just merely hit the button, and quite frankly, oops, this doesn't want to work out. I have a little LED, I can see. Well, the other day when I came home, I didn't change it, because I guess I don't have to. I came home, I'm fumbling with mail, my purse, my water, everything from work. I turned to the side, I didn't have to. My neighbor's light lights my doorknob up beautifully. I know he lights the whole face of my house, but he lights my doorknob up, and even where I put my key in. So I can just insert my key, I don't have to put a light on in the dark. My doorknob and my own lock is illuminated. So is the whole face of my house. To come home every night that is wrong. That is a nuisance. So if we can't correct residential lighting, this is overlighting, light trespass, light pollution, stray lighting. What good does it do to light the interior of my closet in my bedroom from across the street? From a backyard light where somebody keeps themselves all closed up. It doesn't. Can I have the next slide, please, if you can, or next photo?
Brian's actually.
Oh, Brian, I'm sorry. Okay, there's my kitchen lights on. And that's me standing in my dining room. And with all my kitchen lights on, that's the lights in that backyard into my house. So you can see some shades there now, and we went out and purchased brand new shades. I won't be able to enjoy my yard and view it. But those $1,000 shades from Home Depot, because they had to have the backing to block the light, and because of the window sizes, I just spent $1,000 to block a neighbor's light inside my house so I can cook, wash dishes, use the microwave, and not have a glare in my eyes. I want to sit at our dining room table and not have that in our face and enjoy the interior of our house. That's just wrong. Brian, could we do the next one, please? And then I'll be done. Okay, that's just, I think, a couple more showing the spotlight. And as you can see in that one right now, if you look above, it wasn't even dark at night. It was still light. Next one, please, Brian, and I won't have to. There it is. We have people that come to our house that have told us how uncomfortable they are sitting because you have a spotlight in your face. That spotlight, because of the way we're configured and exit and entrances into our small house, it's 823 square feet. You have a large sofa and you've got a couple chairs. Those chairs face out the window. We happen to like our trees. We happen to like seeing our stuff. We can't. Light's right in their face. And that light comes right across my entire porch. You can't sit in the furniture unless you want to squint or glare or what I've done. And I've done that some nights when I wanted fresh air. That should be my right. The most important investment anybody usually makes is going to be their home, their house. Those lights are nothing more than a nuisance and an annoyance. And I've been hearing for a long, long time, to the point that I've been told by many residents that I'm wasting my time to believe anything will ever be done. And for this to be allowed, when I was told under nuisance that it would be taken care of, I said, you know what? I'll be here in summer, it'll be the same old thing, and I'll have 6 months of that, and no summer, while everybody else can sit in their house or their porch and not have somebody lighting, illuminating their face, their furniture. My lock on my door? Really? My front steps? All the way through my property, through my whole house? The bedrooms? Well, one bedroom isn't illuminated by this. My bathroom, thank God, isn't. But my 3 big, huge rooms and up my drive, to no point or purpose. Light pollution is wrong. Light trespass is wrong. A structure is a structure, whether it's multifamily or single family, it houses people. A structure is a structure. What difference does it make if it's 823 square feet or it's 50,000 square feet? It's a structure. You can illuminate your own property, and I've often said you can all illuminate your property. I've never said don't light. What I've said is don't necessarily light someone else's property. It's useless. It's an annoyance to many. It's harmful to the environment. You can't support butterflies and bees and birds and say, I have to have my night turned into day, but I also have to turn my neighbor's night into day. That's wrong. The next thing is that it makes our animals become nocturnal animals. Actually, we change their behavior to become daytime. And then what happens? Complaints. Oh my God, I saw a raccoon, or I saw a skunk, or I saw something out here. And automatically they think it's rabies, something's wrong. No, we're training them to come out during the day because we're taking the night away from everybody and everything. Human life, it is not healthy to be exposed to light 24/7. And when people say, oh, you should just wear an eye mask in your own house. Well, I went and I got estimate for the drapes, just for the bedroom, new drapes. 2 windows, nice size windows. I'm going to lose a beautiful fabric I love that is already lined, but not enough for that spotlight. To buy the fabric is over $154 a yard, plus you gotta get it lined and made. We happen to love the pattern. It's a white on white, it's gorgeous. It's hardly even made. So I have to settle for a less than quality type of drape, but just because of size, length, different rod than to take it. And the 2 huge windows, $826. I just spent $1,000 to block a neighbor's light, and you know what? They ought to pay for it. They ought to. That doesn't count those custom drapes in my living room and my dining room. Those windows are big, those are custom. They're English chintz. I'm sorry, I just bought expensive and I bought quality for last. That's the way I think. I want to buy money once and keep it. Can't. But even if I got new ones, guess what I lose? I lose the use of my porch. I lose the use of seeing my yard and enjoying it like other people do. So, if that doesn't meet nuisance, you got to tell me what does. And I certainly would like to know why somebody feels it's okay to light from stem to stern through a house. Because I'll tell you right now, not one of you come home to that every single night of your life. I do. Every night. So I will tell you, either it's going to be nuisance and we're going to take care of it, and we don't have to be a rocket scientist to have all this scientific stuff to be able to measure and all this. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. What works is where that illumination is and kind of where it ends. That's it, point blank. Come on my porch and stand, and your shadow's going to be here. Stand in my driveway and it's like, oh my gosh. Take a look at the locks. Come inside my house. I'll turn off my lights and you can see all my walls and everything illuminated. That's wrong. Across the street? Really? That's a single residential house to another single residential house. Does it help crime? No. If anything, it will increase crime because that glare and that blinding gives me black spots, dark spots, blind spots. You can't see when you're looking at glare. Okay? But guess what it'll force me to do? He's all shuttered up. I'm going to shutter all up. So guess what? I don't care who's in the streets and what they're doing. If they're quiet, go for it. Because there's nobody going to see it or look at it. Be nothing to report unless you got all your little ring cameras on it. People put all this stuff up for security, but blind everybody from what would be natural and better for the environment at times. You know, that's where we're at. So I would expect that everything I heard from this city was going to be nuisance. Never happened. So, you know what? I want the lighting ordinance for residential finally taken care of. I proved it way back with the Planning Commission years ago. And when they found out the light study that they had done, a few people didn't have correct numbers, and we proved it. They just were so disgusted, they threw it out rather than do what was right. And I think it's time that we started looking at if we're going to be green and good and promote all this health and stuff, you have to look at individual residential properties. The easiest way for me is a nuisance, unless you want to go through the whole process of changing the light ordinance. I'd prefer the light ordinance just be changed and be cut and dry like other cities have done. You got a light, where it originates, it stays. You redirect it, you shield it, you turn the lumens, or you get another fixture. I was taken aback by Planning Commission chairperson when the chairperson says, oh, with these big houses, these Bigfoot houses, you know, we allow these architecturally large light fixtures. Yeah, thank you. An $800 or $900 or $1 million house trumps my 823-foot bungalow, and you gave away my rights? Those large lights can be shielded, they can be retrofitted. And if people are buying and just not thinking, I don't know about that. We're supposed to be a very educated and very in tune with everything going on, and we promote health, we promote the environment, we promote green and wellness. Now I got that to live with. So I would suggest we head on into, and not take a year, because I had bets on this, and I think I won the bet. It's been a year, yeah. You can sit there. None of you guys are living with this. 1 year. I gave up my porch. If I put blinds on my porch, who pays for it? But if I put blinds on my porch, how can you enjoy a porch and look at your gardens and enjoy fresh air? How can you? I come out of healthcare 8.5 hours a day still, every single day, and this is only off when I go to lunch for a half hour. Okay, I want some fresh air. Even though I'm fully vaccinated and have a booster and everything else, this is mandatory. I can't come and spend that time on my porch or in my backyard for fresh air and relax, because now I can get maybe some fresh air. It depends what day of the week it is, I guess, right, Blaine? But I can get nothing but light in my face. It's not comfortable. That's wrong. So please, do what's right, and I don't want to come back in 6 months, and I thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, and if you don't mind, I'm not staying for the, if you don't mind, I'm not staying. The other one has nothing to do with residential. And you know what? I wolfed down a plate of spaghetti in a hurry after work to get here. It was too fast. I'm being honest. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Chris. All right, thank you. Okay. Next, we have approval of the minutes, consideration of the minutes of the regular meeting of November 23rd, 2021.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Councilmember Peterson, support by Councilmember Albrecht. Discussion? Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Thank you. Next is approval of the consent agenda. First is consideration of a special event application from the Rochester PSD to hold 2022 Downtown Rochester Snow Glow on January 14th through 15th, 2022. Next is consideration of a special event application from Children's Heart Foundation to hold the 2022 Congenital Heart Walk Detroit in the Municipal Park on September 24th, 2022. Seems like a long way away, doesn't it? Next is consideration of a special event application for the National Multiple Sclerosis Society to hold the Walk MS Rochester on May 7th, 2022 in the Rochester Municipal Park. Next is review of the 2022 current special event calendar. Finally, consideration request to purchase a new replacement brush chipper.
Motion to accept as presented.
Motion by Councilmember Peterson,
Support.
support by Councilmember Harrison. Discussion, Councilmember Harrison.
I just wanted to mention that the snow glow presented by the PSD is not necessarily a replacement, but Fire and Ice is not expected to return. That was brought to us by the county. And that's something that there's not appetite to move forward with on the county level, but we didn't want to give up this special event. So we'll still be doing ice sculptures and other fun things. It sounds like there's more to add.
There is.
Councilmember
Please.
Albrecht?
I was gonna say the same thing.
Mayor Pro Tem and I are, both responded on Facebook. I pulled it out. Christie had sent out a note. Fire and Ice, those of you who we've enjoyed that have always had the fireworks on 2 nights. So Christie earlier today put out a note saying, hey, we'd like to do some fireworks. We need sponsorships, $1,000 of sponsorship. If we get 5 of them, we could do fireworks for one of the 2 nights. Well, by the time we got here to this meeting, 10 businesses stepped up. The Crawford Insurance Group, Dance on Main, Home Bakery, Julie Tornagao, State Farm, the Linda Rhea Team, Oakland Animal Hospital, O'Connor's Public House, Our Credit Union, Reamer Floors, and Rochester Mills Beer Company donated $10,000 so that there will be fireworks on both nights. So, I mean, this is what, first off, kudos to Christie for putting it out on social media, and then to those 10 businesses who stepped up within hours. I mean, I think this came on at 10 or 11 o'clock, and by 2 or 3 o'clock, we had 10 sponsors to spend $10,000 so that this event, which we all enjoy, will have fireworks again.
Great. Fireworks live. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
we
Madam
need to
Clerk,
vote.
the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage.
Yes. Thank you. Excellent news. There's no old business or table items tonight. First, we have a public hearing for the consideration of ordinance amendment to section 2306, light and illumination. Mr. City Manager?
Yep, actually, this one and the next one, the attorney drafted, so he'll be handling.
Mr. Attorney, hope you're feeling better.
I'm getting there. Thank you for letting me participate in this fashion. I think everyone will appreciate it. The first one we have before you is the consideration of the ordinance amendment to section 2306, light and illumination, as the mayor just indicated. At the previous city council meeting, this matter was pushed to, or set for public hearing as required, since it is a zoning ordinance. This ordinance has remained unchanged since it left planning commission and since city council last considered it. This ordinance would remove the prohibition against bare bulb illumination, but does add in a number of exterior lighting clarifications and regulations. Most specifically, the required shielding from commercial buildings and residential, multiple family residential in districts that abut and face single family dwellings and residences. And the concern of non-conforming uses or fixtures would be addressed by way of a sunset provision, providing the 6 months after the section becomes effective, or if it's damaged or otherwise replaced, it couldn't be replaced with a other non-conforming fixture. So this is the set for a public hearing. If city council once conducts the public hearing, if it wishes to move forward, then the requested action is to move it for first reading and introduction.
Any questions for the city attorney? Madam Clerk, is there any correspondence?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so at 7:29, we will open the public hearing. Is there any comments? At 7:29, we will close the public hearing. Council. Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, the first time we considered this ordinance, I made mention that, as Ms. Kane also illuminated to us, no pun intended, that this doesn't directly deal with residential to residential lighting concerns. Yes, it very much codifies a commercial or multi-family property. And the improvements to the ordinance will be beneficial for the city. I would like to see, at the request, I'd say to the city manager and the city attorney, a very similar ordinance that speaks directly to residential v. residential. And let's start working on something like that.
Okay. Further, council? Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you, Mayor. So, we did bring that up, one of the meetings before regarding this here in the residential, and, it was stated that they were only looking at the commercial side. But I just came back from a community as well that no longer has all the major streetlights on at nighttime, so they can have that darkness, that Pat was referring to, which I think is totally different as far as, I know police chief would say because of the safety and things like that, which is fine. However, I do believe that residentially, we should not have these lights that stay on all the time. If you have a motion light that comes on and then goes off, to me, that actually alerts somebody that something's out there. But to totally ignore it after all this time and continually revise the commercial one, more times than not, and it still didn't address the issue I brought up either regarding over on East Street where you have multifamily and business and residential all right there, and you have a row of lights of our lights, which are the DDA lights, and then you have all the lights from the parking structures. I mean, we do have a lot of light out there. But I will tell you, in those communities that don't have that and are changing their ordinances because of the very things that Pat spoke of, there's nothing like it wasn't hard to go down these streets and see, and you can still see. So I think that we need to work in that direction sooner rather than later, because it's really bad that as long as I've been sitting here and longer, sitting in an audience here, we've been talking about this, so.
Councilmember Peterson, what city is that you said that reduced the lights, streetlights?
In Naples.
Thank you.
Yep, so when you think of a city like Naples, you know, if they can do it, we can do it here to protect our residential.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Thank you. So I do think this ordinance addresses a problem, an issue that was raised. I believe former Councilman Bavacqua kind of started working on this with an issue that one of his neighbors raised. So I do think it's a step forward. It's a step in the right direction. It is solving a issue that we have in the city. I do think probably within the same ordinance, we could look at some residential lighting situations. You know, I think a lot has changed with lightings, with LED lights, and, you know, I don't know, I don't even like to go to Home Depot and buy light bulbs because there's too many choices. So, you know, I think lighting as it affects our homes and our property is a topic that clearly we need to address. I think there's the will of the council to look at it, but I don't see I think this is a step forward, so I think we should move forward with this. So I'd make a motion to move this for first reading and
Introduction.
first reading and introduction. And then I would also support that council have further discussion or direct city attorney to maybe look at some residential lighting.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem. Is there support?
Support.
Support by Councilmember Sage. Further discussion? Councilmember Peterson.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I guess when we're doing these ordinances like we do, we have revised this in the past. We're continually revising it, and I don't know why we don't really look at, and we're doing it on an individual basis of a complaint usually of one thing instead of looking at the city as a whole. So this still isn't going to address the other areas where we have more city lighting up against residential, multifamily, and commercial. And that's not being addressed at all. This is one property to another property. So I'm not in support of continually changing an ordinance. I think that we really need to go into it more and make sure there is something that really addresses everything to represent everybody fairly in the community. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
No.
Sage.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Next to a public hearing for a consideration of ordinance amendment to Section 2125 fence standards. Mr. City Attorney.
Yes, thank you. Once again, this matter is up for public hearing. This one is for section 2125 of the zoning code. And quite simply, this is the ordinance that clarifies and requires that there be fences around pools, regardless of whether there's a powered safety cover, which closes a loop that the applicable code provides for, that this would undo that loop, so that even if you have a powered safety cover, that you would have to have the appropriate barriers. This is consistent with the regular code ordinance amendment that City Council enacted earlier this year. There were no changes from Planning Commission or City Council, and we're not aware of any objections anywhere regarding this one. So if City Council conducts a public hearing and wishes to move forward, the requested action is to move it for first reading and introduction.
Any questions for the City Attorney? Any correspondence
No,
on
Your
this
Honor.
issue? Okay, at 7:35, we will open the public hearing. Any comments without? 7:36, the public hearing's closed. Councilmember Albrecht.
Yeah, I know we've talked about this one in the past, and I'd like, thank you, City Attorney Crott, for closing the loop. So I'd like to make a motion to proceed the requested action to move the amendment for first reading and introduction as
Motion by
presented.
Councilmember Albrecht, support by Councilmember Gould. Discussion? Councilmember Peterson.
Thank you. All right, again, this is another ordinance that's being changed because of one property, and, which met all the codes and everything of the federal government at that point in time. So I'm not going to vote for this again, because I don't think it's right. We already have it on the books that you have a fence for certain things, and this one here was singling out one property. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
No.
Sage.
Yes.
Thank you. There are no legislative deliberations tonight. Reports on regular business first is contracted services agreement from Oakland University, Mount Avon Cemetery Receiving Vault. I'll let the city manager explain that one.
Actually, for a wrinkle here or a normal change, we actually have the clerk actually has been working. I've been assisting, but I don't want to take away all of the hard work that her and her
Madam Clerk,
her
this
team's
is
been
a
doing.
cemetery issue.
It is.
All right.
I do believe that Vern Pixley and the Cemetery Board Chair, Jack Franco, are going to be joining us via Zoom. Earlier in this year, in spring, Mr. Pixley approached the cemetery board in the city and asked about acquiring some space in the cemetery to build a mausoleum to accommodate the cremains of donor bodies at Oakland University's School of Medicine. They have about 25 per year. Through conversations and through our meetings, to give credit to Jason Dickinson, his suggestion was, why not use the receiving vault? The receiving vault is a building there in the older portion of the cemetery. Its original purpose way back in the day was to store burials through the winter when they couldn't dig the holes because of the frozen ground. Obviously, we don't have that anymore, and so that building sits there with no real purpose at this point in time. Presented in your packet and up on the screen is what the proposed renovations to the building would be, mainly the doors, and then on the inside, some shelving space. Mr. Pixley believes that this could accommodate thousands of cremains, so that would last the university many, many, many years into the future. In your packet is a services agreement, and I'll highlight 2 points in it. One is for the university to be responsible for ongoing maintenance of the building. To give you some idea of what that might look like, is back in 2011, so that was 10 years ago, we did some maintenance to the building. We power washed it. We fixed a door hole that was in the building. We did some actual renovation work to it. And that was about $25,000 worth of work. I don't think prior to that, since we took possession of the cemetery in 1967, that any other work had been done to it, and certainly didn't look like it. So going forward, I don't think, but I'm not a professional with that, but there shouldn't be much maintenance to a solid stone building. But we did put that in the agreement that they would be responsible for that. Once every 25 years, have an outside company assess the condition of the building, that they would take care of any repairs. Also, another highlight in the services agreement is, should the medical school cease to exist, that the receiving vault ownership would revert back to the city of Rochester, and that we could take the cremains that are housed in the receiving vault at that time and move them elsewhere in the cemetery if need be. We look at this going forward, the cemetery's 200 years old, pretty sure that it's not gonna go anywhere 200 years from now, so that was my comment to the group, is that you need to think about this is a permanent situation, so it is feasible somewhere down the road that the medical school may not exist and this building will still be there. So that's why we put that provision in the services agreement. So having said that, if Mr. Pixley is available and has any comments, great. Otherwise, I think he's available for questions from council. And we're just looking for council's comments and or approval of the services agreement to get started on that.
Mr.
Thank you.
Mr. Pixley, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Madam Clerk. Council, good evening. Appreciate the opportunity to talk with you a bit about the receiving vault and this project with the university and the medical school. And compliments to the city attorney. I think the agreement that was drafted addresses all of the issues and provides a great opportunity to partner with the university and provide the families that make the donations of their loved ones for medical study an opportunity to have a place to memorialize following their donation. So I think it's a great opportunity and a great use for the receiving vault. We've agreed to take care of all the costs of the renovation, placing bronze doors and the granite shelves on the inside. And I think it's something that the city will be able to be proud of, and the university will also be proud of. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions for council? Councilmember Albrecht.
Just to better understand this, Mr. Pixley, the cremains, are they identified or are they anonymous after they've been used by the university for research?
A great question. The cremated remains would be identified, and the families and the names of the individuals and families would have an opportunity to memorialize their loved ones.
So will the cremains be in a container in this vault with the person's name on it? You said it could store, I think, 25,000. Maybe I got the whatever over time. I would just want to understand how it's going to be stored in there. Is sort of this is all new to me.
Yes, they would be identified by name on the containers and then cataloged appropriately as well.
Thank you.
Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you. My question is, I think, more for the city clerk. I understand that if the medical school were to cease to exist, is there any other purpose that you could foresee needing this building for? And would it ever be socially acceptable to move, like, remains once they've been placed? Because I would hate for it to come back to the city, and then I don't know if it's okay to move them or not.
I hate to defer, but Mr. Pixley has much more experience with that end of it. And as far as use of the building, prior to 2011, there had been a couple of additions that had been added to this building that we removed. And that portion that was used as a workshop was replaced with that new maintenance building that was built in 2013, 2015 in that area. So we have plenty of room for the DPW to work in now without needing that building for that.
Great. 'Cause I wouldn't ever want to see them be moved.
Mr. Pixley, did you want to comment?
Yes, to your question on moving, it's not uncommon to move, whether it's a full burial or the burial of ashes. And the fact that they'd be stored in containers would allow for that to be done very easily.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So, I guess my question then, Leanne, is the amount of space left at the cemetery. So in the event the school closes and there was to be a burial of all of this, how would that work?
I can't answer. I
Right.
don't know. Who knows when that would be, 50, 100 years from now? I don't know if we would need to designate an area that would allow for that somewhere down the road.
May I reply to that?
Councilmember Gould?
So at the previous two medical schools I worked at, there, you can, instead of putting them in a vault like this, which is easily accessible, you can inter the cremains into the ground, and they're quite easy to get out. But again, it's a very small, compact space. I understand space in the cemetery is limited, but this would be a very small amount of space necessary, even if the vault were to go away, or the medical school were to go away.
Yeah,
I know, but I was thinking 25,000 of them. That's not a small
So
spot.
I think where you're getting the 25,000 is, it's approximately 25 donors per year.
Oh, okay.
And the vault can handle thousands of them. So I think
Thousands,
that's
okay.
where you guys were getting the 25,000 from. But, and that very well could be. I don't know what that number's going to look like. I don't think any of us will know that in the future, so I can't answer what that would look like somewhere down the road.
So are we looking for a motion tonight?
Direction or a motion? Yes.
Okay, Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Thank you. Thank you, City Clerk and Vern Pixley and the Cemetery Committee for bringing this to us. The question I have is, and honestly, I'm not sure how I feel about this, but would there be any designation or recognition of this partnership, either inside the vault or, I don't know, like a medical symbol on the outside of the building? Again, I could see pros and cons to that, but I just wanted to see if, I didn't see any in the drawing, was that discussed?
Mr. Pixley?
Not specifically. We didn't discuss that as far as any kind of engraving on the building, or we did talk about some identification plaque to identify what the use of the structure is. I don't know whether that answers your question or not.
Can I make a quick comment? We did chat about that, but the thought was, let's try to leave the historic overall appearance of the building as much as intact as possible. And candidly, the changes that are being proposed are kind of improvements that bronze door looks infinitely better than the standard steel security door that's on there right now. So that's kind of what we talked about.
Okay. That makes sense to me. I think good discussion on this, but I think this is a great partnership and between the city and the medical school. So I make a motion to have city administration to move forward with the document as presented.
Support.
Motion by the Mayor Pro Tem, support by Councilmember Harrison. Discussion? Councilmember Peterson?
Yes, thanks. I guess the other question then, Leanne, with it being historic in the cemetery, this doesn't change anything in the future. I'm just concerned about what is going to happen at any point in time this was to dissolve, and then we have to place people, okay, and how they would be then recognized, et cetera. And is it going to be policed? Are people just going to be able to go in there so family members can go in there like they can at the mausoleum right now?
So I think Mr. Pixley's comments on that were that they would not, but if we receive that kind of request, I don't see why we couldn't. allow them in there from time to time, just like we do the mausoleum. The mausoleum is constantly locked, but we do have at least one family that annually comes in, and we leave the doors open, and then they close them behind them. So that would be something where I certainly wouldn't tell someone no, but it's not something that I think we would leave the doors open for hours during the time. But, certainly if a family said, I have a family member in there, I would like to go in there and visit them, I think we would accommodate that.
All right, and a follow-up then, are there other cemeteries in the area that actually participate in this type of activity?
Again, Mr.
Function.
Pixley or even Mr. Gould with his experience with the medical school, I don't know.
Councilmember Gould?
Well, there's only one other medical school in the area that has a body donor program, and that's Wayne, and I'm not sure which cemetery they use, but they should be
Yes,
using one.
actually, they use Cadillac Memorial Gardens West, which is in the Livonia area, which is where they house their donor ashes.
And to your concern about the historic portion of the cemetery, so the only historic portion of the cemetery is that original 1 acre in the very northeast corner. Although we call that a historic building, and I would certainly assume it's an historic building, I don't know that we're limited to not making this change to it. I mean, it's actually being used for its purpose, in storing bodies, so.
Right. No, I understand. Have we spoken with the Historical Commission at all?
No.
Or the Rochester Avon Historical Society on any of that?
No. So.
Well, I would really like more information before we did say yes, just to know for future. I don't want to make a decision right now that can change anything. I mean, I know it's a very sacred place to many, so.
Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
No.
Sage.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mr. Pixley, thank you very much for your expertise, and have a very happy holiday.
Thank you, you as well, appreciate it.
And the same just to Mr. DeFranco as well.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thank you. Next, we have a discussion regarding the master plan update, and speaking with the city manager. As you know, we voted on this last meeting to push it forward. People had a chance to look at it. Do people want to just submit their questions and things to the city manager, and then we talk about them? Do we want to have a special meeting? So I just thought we should bring that up for discussion tonight. I know Councilmember Sage and I have talked, and since we were on the planning commission, we've kind of put our comments in already. So it's really up to the council what you want to do. Do you want to, again, what we did with the planning commission is we sent them into the city, and then the company that did that kind of got them all together and like submitted it out, and then we kind of talked about those, or we could meet, and have a special meeting, or however we want to do. We still have time. It doesn't have to be before Christmas holiday, I don't think. So don't worry about your schedules.
Circle back
But
next year.
that's just something that I wanted to put out there for discussion. Councilmember Harrison.
How did we do it the last time?
I think last time we did not have a special meeting, and people just, if they had comments, they sent them in, and I think we just had a brief discussion on it. There was not a lengthy discussion on it, so that's how it was done the last time. Councilmember Sage?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So when we started the process, when is the 63-day deadline? What are we looking at?
Didn't we approve at the last meeting, the
Yes.
23rd, November 23rd?
Correct.
So we're into mid to late January,
Okay.
I think. So we don't have to decide tonight. I just wanted to kind of keep that out there for people. Councilmember Albrecht.
I mean, you and Mayor, you and Councilmember Sage are closer to this than all of us. Yes, you've sent us a voluminous packet of materials that I've skimmed to probably be what I've done at the least. And I appreciate Councilmember Harrison's question as to what was done last time. I don't want to volunteer people's time, but I would think it would be in our benefit for you two as sort of the subject matter experts, leaders, on the planning commission to sort of walk us through some of the key areas in a special meeting. I can't imagine that would be more than an hour or 2 hours, on a Saturday or, I know we've eaten up a couple Saturdays on budget and also the tabletop exercise, but I think this is important enough that I would feel more comfortable with a special meeting after the first of the year.
Me too.
Sarah Hedden, okay, so why don't, Mr. City Manager, did you have a comment?
I did. I too would like that. I think that transparency, but I would like it more public. I don't know why we just can't discuss it here at the table for the public. Once we know and have everything in front of us, like just have it on the agenda, and we might not have to spend a full hour, but at least do it publicly to where everyone knows where we came from and how we got to where we are with this new master plan.
Wouldn't a Saturday meeting with all of us be a public meeting?
Of course, yes.
Okay.
And that's not televised.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia?
I do like the idea of having us submit our thoughts and comments ahead of time, because otherwise I think our discussion may not have focus, so I think that would help.
And it will come back to the council for a meeting on TV, the final,
Yep.
the final approval of that as well. So if we want to do that, why don't, Mr. City Manager, why don't you get out some?
A doodle poll?
Yeah, that seems to be the best way to work it, and football season's over anyway, right? So we got time on the weekend. Okay, so we will get that, and we will meet after the first of the year on this. Next, we see a report from the various boards and commissions. First, a report from the Budget and Finance Committee. Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Thank you. So the Budget Committee meets once a month, the first Friday. We met last Friday, December 10th. First item is really exciting news. We have been awarded some grant money for the Grove, the Memorial Grove All Abilities Park. So some playground equipment for the kids in the park. So $225,000, that's about a third of the cost. So administration and it's all hands on deck to find some other grant money for the completion of it, but that's pretty exciting news. The second item was we talked about the Opeb funding. So these are the funds that are set aside to pay for healthcare costs for our retirees. And the great news is, in the past, when we've done the actuarial report, we've been 100% funded, so we haven't had to pay premiums out of general fund. We've been able to use these dollars. This year's actuarial report was even better due to lower costs as well as good market returns. We are now almost 200% funded. So to me, that clearly demonstrates the city's commitment to healthcare and providing healthcare for our retirees. So really, really good news there. Also discuss the purchasing authority policy for the city manager. In 2015, this was per ordinance set to adjust based on inflation. City got the inflation rate from the state, which is 3.3%. So really for all of council, it should be kind of top of mind for us that city manager's authority for the next year is $16,738. So started at $15,000, inflation, $16,738. We also talked about the vehicle replacement schedule. There will be several vehicles that will be part of our annual budget discussion. And a good timeline was put together by the finance department in terms of when we could expect to see some of those costs. Also learned that we are looking at grants for vehicles because there is a desire to move towards more electrification. So there hopefully is some grant money out there that possibly could help us with those costs. The budget schedule was discussed, for city council. This is January 8th. This is our workshop. That's probably the key date. City manager talked about the strategic plan update. Many of you have gotten texts or emails on this. The key takeaway here is this is not necessarily for this budget cycle. We're not going to have real input for this budget cycle. It'll be the following year. So this is an activity in 2022 where we're getting input and creating the strategic plan. So it'll really feed the next cycle. The compensation and benefits study will be completed by year end. Then we talked about staffing, full-time employment, and I think that was it. There's a lot covered in those 2 hours of the meeting. Did I miss something?
Councilmember Albrecht?
No, you did a great job of summarizing. I just wanted to point out to City Council, Mayor Pro Tem Salvia did reference it. Slide 114, or page 114, which is slide 113, is the replacement list, a very nice chart that was, talks about what DPW, the fire department, the police department, administration are looking for. But as Mayor Pro Tem mentioned, the timeline on slide 115 takes you through today's meeting where we approved the replacement brush chipper to each of the meetings through the end of this fiscal year. So I just thought it was a great slide that both Anthony and Marcy did to sort of, we always want to be looking in the future. We have the 3-year budget plan, but I took this page out, me, I print everything. I've got this next to me, so I know that at the January meeting, we're going to potentially see a motorcycle patrol vehicle. At the February meeting, we'll have some other vehicles. So I just complimented our finance department for sort of putting this in a very easy to read chart that's in our packet.
Very good. I would just like to encourage everybody, put January 8th on your schedule because it's important for everybody to be there. That's an important meeting. Councilmember Peterson?
Yes, and I will see if I can make that one. Regarding the purchasing authority policy, so that is every day you can spend $16,000. I want to just being hypothetical here. Because there is no cap. The cap is this continually every single day, the way it's written. And we never do know how much is actually spent every day with programs, things that take place. I think that for transparency purposes, that is a very high number that we have allowed. That is, going to increase every year. And I think we really need to be mindful and know or get a report showing how much is actually spent in that authority and this authority that's given. So I would ask that we have city manager give us a report at least monthly or quarterly to see where we're at and the amount of spending that happens with this. Because I think in the end, it will show us what we are needing administratively here. That, we might not even know about that is being purchased. So that's my request.
I have a question just on that. Is that covered in our the check request sheet that you give us each?
Mr. City Manager?
Yeah, actually, that's not a per day. I could do that with every light item. So, it's, has to be in our budget. So, if I go over, let's say, for an example, we've budgeted $15,000 for a replacement server. In the past, I would have had that authority, to actually purchase that instead of bringing a $15,000 or $14,900 server to City Council. It was a budgeted item. Council's approved it. I would then have the ability to sign off on it. If that server happened to be $17,000, still underneath even 2022, I would have to bring that to City Council because it's over my authority. In the past, if something's been if something's $16,735, most likely I'll be bringing that to council as it's, $3, to the policy. So it's I guess a rare example that I'm going over the budgeted line item. If a server happened to be $30,000 and we budgeted $15,000. If council would like me to do an exceptions report, I would say there's probably in a year, maybe a handful of those that take place. So monthly, most likely would be nothing to report. I'm happy to do, if council wants once a month, I'm happy to do it quarterly. I'm happy to do it semi-annually. But just so you know what my authority and how it's used, it's, within what's budgeted, and currently it's, been right around 15,000, and as finance went through, saw the ordinance, we actually have now put in as an example of how that mechanism of that change, that percentage coming from the Michigan Bulletin would actually adjust it. And so it would, working with finance, we decided the best time to do that is actually with the calendar year. We normally would be getting, or finance would be getting that information late October, sometime in November. We would let council know. And then as of January 1st, that's when that new authority would go into, the new limits would go into effect.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Thank you. So purchasing delegation of authority is a pretty common business procedure. I mean, I spent almost 20 years in purchasing in automotive, and so it's pretty common to have those and have them adjust based on inflation. It may be appropriate to have the finance department provide some sort of exception reporting, as part of our quarterly updates on, we get a quarterly update from finance. So maybe as a part of that, any, what delegation of authority transactions took place in the past quarter.
All right, Mayor. But
Councilmember Peterson.
we don't know specifically how much is actually, what is actually being purchased minus those items though, right? Like how much is actually being spent all the time? The check register report does not really give that. That actually is a lot of reimbursement to people that has nothing to do with purchasing power. And so I do know how the purchasing power works and that this is a normal standard thing that takes place. But we have a very high threshold for items that we really don't always know about until it's over it. So it's up to council, but that's what I would like. I would like to know how much we are, even if it was just to see quarterly what really happens, and then, go from there. And if everything looks good, then it's fine. But I do feel that we need to know what is being purchased and, on a regular basis.
Okay. Now we're on to receive a report from the Facilities Committee. Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Thank you. So facilities met December 7th. Main discussion items were the community house project update. Right now, Wing Construction has sent it out for bid for their subcontractors who will be doing the work. Those will be back mid-January, so kind of the next update will be then. Currently, $50,000 has been spent on this project. We talked quite a bit about the community garden update. We got the update tonight, but this was kind of looking forward on how it's going to look with the reconstruction and all the work that's being taken place. We talked about the City Hall vestibule update, as well as some updates and maintenance for Dinosaur Hill. Our next meeting will be February 1st.
Very good. Questions?
Quick question.
Councilmember Peterson.
Yes, thank you. So, on the report, I know I reached out to the city manager regarding that meeting because we were supposed to have a goals and objectives meeting, and we basically reviewed these items here, but we haven't set anything in place to, based off the Amoresco report as to what we needed to take care of as far as the Dinosaur Hill building and things like that. We discussed the items that at the meeting, but we don't have anything laid out to how and when it's going to be taken care of. And I think it's important that some of these items, we do have that taken care of, as well as even the community garden update. So I would appreciate us being able to have something in the upcoming months by February, at least, of what we're going to do to take care of Dinosaur Hill for one. I know we'll have updates on the community garden at that point from what they've been working on. And as far as the community house, I would like that to be more upfront as well. And I think waiting there's been a lot of time lapse since we spent that money here. We're moving this forward, so.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia?
Yeah, so Councilmember Peterson, you're on that committee,
I know I am.
facilities. And so we're going to meet February 1st.
No, I understand that. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to the meeting. This meeting was supposed to be a goals and objectives meeting, and it didn't turn out to be that. We did not complete it because that's on the timeline. So we keep pushing these things down. We're not actually putting them in stone of how we're going to make sure that they get completed sooner rather than later. Because Dinosaur Hill, we've been talking about before this Amoresco report came out, and it's been slowly getting things done there.
Right, so I think Patrick asked for agenda items for the February 1st meeting. So, I mean, I think we're all going to want to put those things in. So, I mean, I think that's why we set the February 1st meeting.
Okay, but it wasn't stated as a goals and objectives, so if we're going to have that, we need to have these items so we can take it to our goals and objectives that we're going to do for budget. So, that's how that would work.
The committee will handle that well?
Yep.
Okay, next you see a report from the Rochester Area Youth Assistance. Councilmember Harrison.
Thank you, Mayor. We had our last meeting on the Tuesday, November 23rd. It was a pretty light meeting. Our biggest thing was our annual meeting, which was held on December 1st at 8 a.m. We tried to catch everyone before work, where we went over the past year and the accomplishments, and that was run by Kim Russell and Ryan Smith, and they did an excellent job providing those updates. So I hope everyone, if you weren't able to attend, can see the link after the fact. And then on Friday, December 3rd, we participated in the Kris Kringle Market. We got to we were the nonprofit in the beer tent that night, and we were serving beer and wine, and it was one of the most fun evenings I've had ever. So we raised a lot of money and made a lot of tips for the Raya cause.
Very good. Thank you.
Mayor.
Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Thank you. You know, I've been thinking quite a bit about Raya with the events in Oxford. And so I would just ask that, you know, that organization is the face of a school counselor in our school system. And anything, and I know they do a lot of fundraising, they do a lot of things, and so I'm sure that's on their minds. But just, and I know that happened after your last meeting, so I would just be looking to hear any updates around that specifically.
Absolutely. I'm glad that you brought that up because it wasn't in my notes from the agenda packet. But because we decided this via email, we did make a donation to the Oxford School District of $500, and we decided as a board together to make that. And we're also looking for opportunities to volunteer. So I know, thank you for bringing that up. I forgot that we did make a monetary donation.
Thank you. Next, we have a report from the RARA Board. Councilmember Albrecht.
Thank you, Mayor. We welcomed our new board member, Dan Trudell, who is joining us as the representative from Avondale Schools. We moved the agenda so that we could have, from Applied Fitness Solutions, 2 of the 3 principals, Jared and Nate, came and spoke to the board, and there were some members of public there. They were there to talk about, they had put out a video and an email that they were closing at the end of the year because we were selling the 480 building. We had probably a good 30, 40-minute discussion with them, a very, very, very collaborative discussion, and basically what we agreed to was the fact that we, all we had approved at the November meeting, I'm quoting, to proceed with finding a real estate specialist to present to the board at a later date. So the building is not up for sale. We just wanted to have a real estate specialist, which is not going to happen until early part of 2022. In interactive conversations back and forth, we mutually agreed that their their video probably should have not happened, and we should have talked before then. They agreed. We have an ad hoc committee made up of myself, Councilmember Teresa Mangioli from Rochester Hills, and Chairperson John Mink. We are meeting with Jared, Nate, and I believe the other principal is Michael. I could be wrong on that. This Thursday, we are going into that discussion to hopefully have a long-term partnership with Applied Fitness Solutions, no matter what direction happens with the 480 building. And again, I reminded them that that government moves very slowly, that the building is, we may hear from the real estate specialist in February or March and then make a decision to sell or not to sell. So we had a very good discussion. They represented themselves well. We had a good discussion, and it was very cordial, interactive. So I'm looking forward to more discussion with them. Applied Fitness Solutions has been a great partner to residents and people who use it. They have 131 memberships right now, including some people from our fire department and city officials. So we hope to continue that. We then moved on to talk about, our biannual card goes out. Instead of sending out a big brochure, we've done this electronically, so many of you should have gotten this in your mail, where you scan the box here and pulls up all of our programming for December through next April. So that's out in people's hands, and we're moving forward with that. We received the normal reports from our supervisors, and we have one more month in the year in terms of our budget, but we are projecting a $30,000 profit at the end of the year, again, based on our CFO from Rochester Hills, Joe, who's there. We did get an update on the HVAC unit for the field house, and that's being installed tomorrow. I presented a couple new HR policies, a records retention policy and a leave of absence policy. And then we approved some pay adjustments, and now that we're coming out of COVID, we are going to recruit for a customer service manager, a recreation coordinator, and a part-time recreation attendant. These were some of the positions that were eliminated during the pandemic based on, obviously, staffing needs to mirror the use of the facility. So we will be we're not going to start looking for them now during the holidays. It's not a great time to recruit, but after the first of the year, we did review the job descriptions, and we'll be advertising for those jobs. Build back.
Good. Councilmember Peterson?
Yes, just a couple of questions. Thanks for the report, Mark. I would like to know, did the city attorney or the attorney for Rochester Hills review the two policies that were presented to them for approval? The records retention policy and the leave of absence?
No, they have not.
Oh, okay. I just wondered, are they going to review those before, since?
We have not had them look at, in the past, they haven't looked at the employee handbook to the best of my knowledge, so we've not sent them to them. I really didn't see that as a path that we needed to follow.
Okay. Next, regarding the sale, though, I do know that people have been brought through the building, and a price has been given to people for what the sale price would be of that. So I'm not sure who's bringing the people through to show the building, but I do think that it's raised a lot of questions because people want the building, and they don't know what to expect. So I don't know what's really happening out there with what's taken place there, but I do know for a fact that people have been given a tour of it, and price has been discussed.
First time hearing of that, and I will bring that up on Thursday and find, I don't know who would be doing that or who would be giving the tour or giving out any prices. That was not authorized by the board.
Okay.
Or voted on by the board.
Very good. Next is a report from the Planning Commission. Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We reconsidered a site plan for remodeling of the State Farm Insurance Agency there at 415 West University, and the applicant brought in the needed revisions to our initial discussion, so it was approved. We also considered the 2022 Planning Commission meeting schedule, and there are a couple updates that you'll notice in your packet. We eliminated the March 17th meeting, and we revised the July meeting from the start of the month to July 21st to accommodate potential vacation plans for members on the board. And lastly, we considered our annual report of the Planning Commission activities, and that's also in your packet to see which site plans we reviewed throughout the year.
Good. Comments? Councilmember Peterson.
So, have they, is the upcoming meeting for January 3rd, Forest Ridge is going to be submitting their carport layout?
Potentially.
Yes.
They're trying to, but Mr. Banda thinks that they may or may not be able to get it done in time.
Oh, okay, all right, then I'll just wait. Thank you.
Mayor, if I could note too, in addition to Councilmember Sage, there was also the January 3rd date, which is typically a Monday due to the closeness of the new year, was actually changed to the Tuesday, which would be January 4th.
Which is very confusing to people who are used to coming on Monday. Next, we have a receiver report from the Zoning Board of Appeal. Assistant City Manager Banda.
Yes, sir. Good evening. On November 24th, we had one item on the meeting, 614 Ludlow. If you've noticed at the corner of 7th and Ludlow, a home's been removed. A new home is being proposed to be built. Still has a Ludlow address, but they needed a waiver of the required 20 feet from the front of a garage to the property line on 7th Street. They actually have 28 feet to the road, so after consideration, the zoning board approved that waiver, and the home is commencing to be built. That was it.
Very good, thank you. On to new business for referral and miscellaneous. Public comment, Brian, anybody new?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not seeing any.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Thank you for being here tonight.
Good, thanks.
Next, we have a receipt of the check register and the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. There's 3 check register reports within tonight's packet. They're from November 23rd, December 2nd, and December 9th. As for my miscellaneous items or my update, just want to highlight a few. It's been discussed, but I just want to put an emphasis on it, on the emergency management tabletop exercise that is going to be scheduled for January 15th from 1 p.m. until 5 p.m., and that will be over at the fire station. The mayor has already highlighted our initial budget workshop, so again, I'll just underline that will be the initial budget workshop and our SWOT ranking, and that will be on Saturday, January 8th, and that's at 9 a.m. Other than that, just 2 last things. Just want to remind everybody, leaf pickup has concluded from our Public Works. However, leaf can still be either dropped off at our Public Works location or bagged through December 17th. And then as a reminder, due to the holidays, the next city council meeting is a week from today, so on December 20th.
Very good. Councilmember Albrecht.
City Manager Wing, normally this time of year you have a one-page that shows all the meetings for next year, and we always have to adjust the one meeting for Lanyap. When can we expect to see that?
On the next agenda on the 20th.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City Manager Wing, the initial budget workshop and SWOT ranking on the 8th, is that here in council chambers, or is that also at the firehouse?
It's also at the fire station.
Okay, thank you.
What time
The night. You said 8, they said 9.
It's the 8th?
At 9.
Saturday, the
9
8th, at
Yep.
9. Yeah.
And what time? And we're looking to end at noon.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'll be working with finance on any prep information to provide council. So between now and January 8th, and I see Anthony, I don't know if you want to add something. I see your name pop up, Anthony. I don't know if you wanted to say something on that.
Anthony?
Oh, no, nothing to add. We're just clarifying. Yep, it'll be 9 o'clock, and we'll get some good information and things going ahead of time. So if there's anything specific that council or even the public, anybody wants us to address into our budget timeline, just let us know or let City Manager Wing know, and we'll make sure to incorporate that and get that either addressed at the January 8th meeting or at a future subsequent meeting based on the topic.
Very good, thank you. Madam Clerk, anything tonight?
Nothing this evening, Your Honor. Thank you.
City Attorney?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay, hope you're feeling better. Mr. Assistant City Manager Banda?
Nope. Chief, stay with me. Anything, Chief? Nope, nothing going on.
Okay, thank you.
Nothing. That's good.
That's a good thing, right? Councilmember Gould?
Yes, it is. For me, it's always good when nothing's going on.
Right. So we said that. Councilmember Gould, anything tonight?
Not really. Just been enjoying all the winter activities downtown. I thought the Kris Kringle Market was lovely. I stopped by and enjoyed a beer from Councilmember Harrison.
Very good. Councilmember Albrecht?
Yeah, I was going to compliment Caroline in the city, but Kris Kringle Market, unfortunately, Councilmember Harrison had her hands full, so I had to get my mulled wine from somebody else. But Kris Kringle Market, I did leave with a bag full of gifts for family and friends, so it was a great success. But I think I've mentioned to some of you, and thank you for the moment of silence, because the Oxford thing really hit me hard. The Caroline in the City was the first time I felt good in a while. When that band came marching down the street, it was just like a breath of fresh air, and I just sat and absorbed it, and you could see the kids having fun, just playing their instruments, being kids again. The tree in the intersection was like hope again for me. And then hearing the children's choir it was just the right tonic for me, because I know we've all been hit by this tragedy in different ways, but I've been in a funk, and that was the first night that really brought me out of it. And thank you to the kids led the way, the marching band and the children's choir, and thank you to DDA for putting that all together and helping the city heal. That's it, Mayor.
Very good. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Salvia.
Thank you, Councilmember Albrecht. Very, very well said. Thank you. Thank you. Just wanted to report that the grant committee will be meeting January 18th. This is not a working committee. This is a committee that pulls together all the city departments and nonprofits and entities that are applying for grants. And really, the goal then is we'll have a quarterly report out. But again, just really working to maximize those grant opportunities for the city. And I just wanted to thank all the businesses that stepped up so quickly today with the support for Fire and Ice, or whatever we're calling it, the fireworks, because we love our fireworks in winter. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Sage?
Nothing this evening, sir.
Councilmember Harrison?
Nothing from me tonight, thank you.
Councilmember Peterson?
Just one, when you walk through the streets, we have a lot of grates that are all covered up, and if we don't get them uncovered before the snow flies, it's going to be pretty bad. There's dirt and leaves. Many of them are covered, more than what I already sent.
They started working on those today.
Okay, very good. I have a few things. First, I thought the Caroline downtown was fantastic. To see everybody out and feeling good about things, and Christmas back in Rochester. And it was disappointing the Christmas parade didn't happen, but we understand that. But I thought this was a good event. And speaking of Oxford, I was talking to some of our policemen, and just so the public knows, we did have a number of police go up there to help out. And actually, I was talking to Mike, who runs Pearl, and Pearl was in the school doing bomb sniffing and stuff, and unfortunately, Mike had to see the remnants of the shooting. So, it's obviously horrific, but, thank him for, doing his duty during a difficult time. So thank you to the Rochester Police Force having to do that pretty bad job. We have a parking committee meeting tomorrow, and so we are going to be talking about parking in lieu. And hopefully, we will have a recommendation on parking in lieu for city council to consider
come
at
out
our next
the
meeting.
weekend of January 15th.
Hey, Patrick,
You're
you're not on mute.
Oh, sorry about that.
Patrick, we
It's
enjoy.
January 15th, I don't
Yeah,
know.
we enjoyed your comments, but not quite there, right? So we will have hopefully a recommendation on parking in lieu to present to council at the next meeting to discuss. And then also, and finally, as we know, since Councilmember Gould was elected to council, he has to come off the OPC board. So there is an opening, and there might have a special meeting and some things going on. So I would like to nominate Al Fisk to be the citizen representative to OPC. And if the board would like to, I'd like to ask that I nominate him, but also vote on him tonight. But that's up to the council to do that.
I'll make a motion to approve Al Fisk for the OPC board.
Okay,
Support.
So motion by Councilmember Peterson, support by Councilmember Harrison. Discussion. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen,
Yes.
Salvia,
Yes.
Albrecht,
Yes.
Gould,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Peterson,
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
I've talked with Al a couple times, and he is looking very forward to being on the OPC board, which is
forward to
nice. Maybe nobody's ever wanted to be on a board more than Al, so that's a good thing, right?
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, so that would be good, and that's all I have. So again, enjoy Christmas, and we will see you next week for our last meeting of the year. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Great call, Ann.
Council,
Al's so excited.
we have a little
Oh,
presentation
I
for
remember when
Blaine.
he came here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Council?
Yeah, he needed to be there.
Sorry.
You may have received something at home already today.